So ever since Halo Infinite's vague reveal at E3, we've only known tidbits about its sense. What we do know is that the game will be taking place a few years after Halo 5. It will act as a new starting point for new fans to jump in and not feel bogged down by years of continuity, and the game will be built around the community, and they're hoping to directly communicate with us to help build the game going forward. It will feature a more classically inspired artistic direction, and of course the game will be focused on Chief this time around. But outside of that, who knows what the game will hold. I'm pretty excited about Infinite, and I have reasons to be. This is the first time 343 has taken their time with a game, and seeing as they've taken a lot of the feedback YouTubers and members of the community such as yourselves to heart, I'm excited to see the kind of game that our feedback informed. For now though, I want to list off a couple of things that I'm anxious about, because while I do feel there are reasons to be excited about Infinite, there are personal things that I'm a bit worried about. I'm hoping that my worries will be dismissed, but now's a good time as any to get some of these anxieties out there. Keep in mind that this video is not meant as some kind of attack against 343. This is not meant to kind of fuel the toxicity of the Halo community, how it can be very toxic and negative sometimes. Despite their missteps, I do think that the people at 343 are a good group of developers, and the changes to the ways that they approach game development and fan interactions do have me hopeful for their next game. But for now, let's talk about some worries. Theater mode is something I'm very anxious about with Halo Infinite. Ever since its introduction in 3, Theater Mode was a fantastic source of community content creation. Not only did it make the act of creating red versus blue style machinimas super easy and accessible, it also allowed for that same kind of content creation within the campaign. Across every mode, matchmaking, forge, and campaign, you had the ability to save your games and play them back, detach the camera, fly around, get cinematic shots, goofy shots, and just fun clips to share with your friends on the file browser. Things really came into their own with machinimas, I would argue, during Reach, and I think that it was the highlight of community content creation, due to how accessible and flexible its tools were. I remember how crazy and wide the range of machinimas were during that period. People could use the campaign to help add to the stories they were making. It was amazing, until Halo 4 cut it out of single player. Theater still worked great in the multiplayer and Forge, but Spartan Ops and campaign were a no-no. And that really hurt content creation and the value of the modes with AI in them. Well, before, Theater was a unified experience that cataloged everything you did within the playable Halo space. Halo 4 segmented that and made the campaign in Spartan Ops feel isolated from the rest of the package. Then we finally got to Halo 5 and things somehow got worse. Not only was the theater mode still absent from the campaign, support for Forge wasn't included this time around, further hampering creative options. You could no longer make machinimas that had monitors flying around. Screenshot capabilities were also taken out, and the theater mode itself was a mess. 343 changed the way that theater stores and plays back data, and it actually plays back the footage based off of the match server's point of view. And holy moly, it was a buggy, glitchy mess. Crashes were common. Frequently, things just wouldn't play back accurately. Camera perspectives would be put on other players randomly without your permission, and it would force you to scroll through the list of players until you could find your guy again. And first-person views just looked wrong with how the camera would unnaturally bounce around and be unable to properly play back gunfights, with the gun fire rates randomly speeding up or slowing down, and the reticle just clearly not on anybody that you're shooting. This theater mode was shockingly bad, and it was never really fixed. Some work was done to make it better, but the work hardly seemed noticeable. To this day, The theater mode for Halo 5 marks the lowest point for the once proud mode. The theater mode used to be a big deal back during the 360 generation. Even Call of Duty Black Ops adopted a theater mode like Halo's. And now, the Black Ops' theater mode is a reoccurring feature that adds new options, while Halo just strips features with each new release. My worry is that, like Halo 5, theater mode will be neglected. I really hope that this isn't the case, but it's a fear nonetheless. The blind skull that removes your HUD and weapons is simply not a replacement for a full-fledged theater mode. And I've also seen some people requesting a kind of photo mode, and in my opinion, yes, a photo mode would be cool, but that's not a replacement for theater mode itself. I don't want to see some kind of compromise. I want to see theater mode back in its full glory, with support across every playable mode in Halo Infinite. Here we go. Halo 5 left a bad taste in my mouth story-wise. Back in 2015, it was pretty shocking to say the least. As a big fan of Halo 4's story, Halo 5 felt like a knife to the gut for me. I didn't find the new characters interesting at all. I really disliked the direction of the story, with Cortana being a robot overlord and taking over the galaxy with big space owls that turn off your lights. After Halo 5, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't really care to see how this ended, because it's a conflict I really dislike that's being fought by a group of characters I resented. It was gonna be an uphill battle to even make me care at this point. Halo Wars 2 acted as a very nice and relaxing break from the alienating story of Halo 5, but when Halo Wars 2 ended, reality hit me hard in the face when it teased a Guardian, and instead of being hyped like I'm sure this scene intended, I just felt kind of irritated because I remembered the next time I'd be seeing Chief, I'd have to deal with this nonsense. I feel like the robot overlord story is something I'd rather just deal with so that we can move on to something more interesting. And to be honest, Halo Infinite's idea of a time jump is actually really smart. I'm sure 343 knows that Halo 5's story is not something that people were keen on, and that a majority of people aren't going to be hyped to see the epic conclusion of Fireteam Osiris fighting evil robot Cortana. I guess my fear or anxiety right now is more of a fear of the unknown. This time jump could lead to a lot of interesting starting points for Infinite's campaign. We could see it start very similarly to Combat Evolved, waking up to a conflict with quite a few years of history to it, and we don't know about the details. The mystery could be a fantastic way of roping me in and moving on from the immediate silliness of Halo 5's story. But the mere fact it's Cortana, I don't know, man. We're gonna have to see, but it's gonna have to take one damn fun campaign premise for me to be interested in finishing this fight. My final worry is the state of the game at launch. Halo 5 pretty notoriously was the weakest launch in the series. It was the first Halo game in the series to actually launch with less content than the previous game. No Forge at launch, no split screen, weaker armor customization, less playlists, less game modes, etc, etc, etc. The fact the players had to wait over half a year for the Infection game mode to be added is quite frankly unacceptable to me. Halo 5's first year was one of the most infuriating experiences with a video game, in my personal opinion. And I doubt that content was deliberately withheld despite being finished and just sat on for months to drip feedback to us, because when the content did release with the patches, it's usually buggy and unpolished. It always gave off this vibe that they were hurriedly assembled behind the scenes and thrust out the door as quickly as they could so that they could immediately get on to the next game mode. There was a rushed quality to the content releases for Halo 5 post-launch, and it hurt that all of the content post-launch was stuff that probably should have been with the game at launch. Honestly, I feel like Halo 5 needed an extra year or so to cook in the oven. I really hope that Halo Infinite launches in a much better place than Halo 5 did. I honestly feel kind of like Reach, in terms of content, is the template for how a Halo game should be at launch, and then you build from there post-launch, adding even more content to the game. Halo Infinite needs all the classic game types there, day one. It needs a variety of playlists to choose from. It needs Forge and a working theater mode, day one, that includes campaign, Forge, and multiplayer support. It needs score attack and timing in the campaign, etc, etc, etc. I doubt 343 will release Halo Infinite in the same state as Halo 5, seeing as they've received so much criticism for how the Halo 5 release was handled. The idea of the content updates 343 did was quite a great idea, and I think that it would serve Halo Infinite well, but we can't center the updates around bringing back features that the other Halo games launched with. I can't go through that again as a Halo fan. My worry is how Infinite will be handled at launch. The fact that the game is seemingly taking so long to make actually does have me pretty excited, because more development time means more room for polishing and adding to the game to make for a richer experience at launch. Just please don't be like Halo 5 again, please? Now, for the purposes of not ending this on an exclusively negative note, I do want to talk about why I am at least hopeful, and I think things will be different this time around. It's been a little while since Halo 5 came out, and a lot has changed at 343. You know, when us big YouTubers like Hidden Xperia and I, when we go to 343, we're not just sitting around smiling and accepting goodie bags. We're talking to the developers, and we're specifically talking about the issues that we read in our comments section. When people are upset or frustrated, we bring those up to them, and we ask for answers like, why did you think this was okay? A lot has changed at 343, with the management structure, the way that they interact with their fans, even the way that they approach game development. Some of our talks with the art director for Halo Infinite kind of have us excited because the things he was talking about sounds a lot closer to home for what Halo should be. The story guys have a really big understanding of what didn't resonate with people during Halo 4 and Halo 5's years. And with Halo Infinite, 343 as a whole, this is a very different type of Halo game for them. This is one that's been birthed from years of fan frustration and feedback and a kind of humbling of the studio. 343 has actually said publicly that, similar to the MCC test flights for the patches, they want to get the community in early on Halo Infinite, and they want us to play it early so that we can give that feedback so that they can further refine and build the game in preparation for the release, in the hopes that the game launches in a state that we're happy with. With the new way that 343 will be looking at the series going forward, Halo Infinite is going to be the start of a new era for the series that is more respectful of the legacy and more inclusive of the fans. And I'm pretty excited about that. All of your feedback did not fall on deaf ears, and the people at 343 are really interested to see how we are going to react to the game that they're building currently, because they've been listening very closely after Halo 5. So now the open mic is passed to you guys. What I want to know are some of the things that you're anxious about with Halo Infinite, but also some things that you're potentially hopeful about and even excited about. So let me know in the comments section below, guys. If you enjoyed the video, remember to share it around, give it a like, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps the channel. And guys, before I go, so I'm getting a lot of medical stuff sorted out behind the scenes. It's part of why my uploading has been so weird and inconsistent. Well, more inconsistent. Thankfully, I finally seem to have sorted things out, hopefully, crossing my fingers. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next upload, and I hope you have a good day.